Welcome to Passport to Europe, the podcast that takes you beyond the tourist traps and into the heart of Europe's hidden gems. Whether you're planning your first European getaway or looking to uncover new spots on your next adventure, I've got you covered with insider tips, expert advice, and unforgettable stories. I'm your host, Rachel Rogers, founder of For the Story Vacations, a boutique European travel business, and I've been living and traveling across Europe for nearly a decade, helping travelers just like you craft immersive, stress-free journeys. In each episode, I'll share firsthand insights and practical advice to help you experience Europe like a local, from scenic drives on the Amalfi Coast to cozy Parisian boutique hotels and private vineyard tours in Tuscany. So, get ready to explore, get inspired, and make your next European vacation one to remember. Let's dive into today's first episode of Passport to Europe. So, before we get into the actual episode, please grab a refreshment of your choice to listen to while I have a little chat about my background, why you should be listening to my podcast, what makes me have any idea what the heck I'm doing in the tourism industry, or how would I know anything about travel. So I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. I went to university at Stevens College in Columbia, Missouri, an all-women's college, and I got a BFA in theater performance. And then I moved to the Big Apple, New York City, and I lived there for a couple years. I did some summer stock, I did some national tours of children musicals across the United States, and some other work in the city before I did a 3.5-week trip around Europe with my mom. And that is what kind of changed everything. It just... It blew my mind. I was bit with the travel bug. I came back to New York City and I just started looking for the cheapest flights I could find to fly back to Europe again and again and again. And then fast forward a couple of years, I met my now husband at a bar in New York City. It was my day off. I was going to see Alan Rickman in a play on Broadway with my roommate. I think my roommate Sydney for this. This is the only reason I met my husband, and we decided to go for a happy hour drink right next door in Midtown at an Irish bar. And we went to the second floor bar, and Sydney was like, "There's this really great bartender who's super nice." My mom and I went to a show nearby, and he just took great care of us. And there was my husband, Keith. Well, not at the time, but little did I know he was going to be my husband. And he hails from Galway, Ireland. He's an Irishman. So, fast forward then a couple more years. We're dating. We're almost engaged at this point. And I decided I wanted to start looking for jobs abroad. And I wanted to intermix something that could incorporate my love of theater, my love of telling stories and presenting things to audiences and groups of people. And I thought, wow, what about being a tour guide? So I started reaching out to tour companies all over Europe. And I got a response back from Fat Tire Bike Tours in Paris, France, one of my very favorite cities at the time. But honestly, it's my favorite city in the world now after having lived there. And they said, "Hey, let's have a phone interview." So we had a phone interview, went really well. About a week later, I got an email from them and they said, "Great, Rachel, we really like you. We'd love you to come for a second interview. Could you fly to Paris, France? And by the way, in the second interview, we want you to be able to change a bike tire in under 10 minutes because that can happen when you're out on a bike tour with, 20 people, as a flat tire can happen. So you have to be able to change a tire by yourself." So the holidays were quickly approaching. It was almost Thanksgiving in the States. And so I had to make some decisions. So I decided to leave New York City, go with one suitcase and carry on, and fly to Ireland for the holidays, which is actually where my husband proposed to me on Christmas Eve at a little abbey, kind of like a castle. It was beautiful. I had no idea it was coming, and it's quite funny, but that's for another time entirely. And that is where I learned to change bike tour. I had the nicest gentleman at a bike shop teach me 3 days in a row, wouldn't take any payment. My mother-in-law was so smart, and she's like, "We're just going to get him some cases of beer." And so that's what we did, and they were so good to me. So after the holidays, I flew over to France. I'm so nervous. Walked in, there was about 35 other people applying for the job as well. And not only did you have to learn how to change a bike tour, but you also had to research a famous monument in Paris, and then put together a speech and kind of give information about it and make it interesting and then present that to the whole group. So I did that. It went well. I actually was able to change that bike tire in under 10 minutes, and I was thrilled. I'm still very proud to say I was able to do that. And then I got the job, and they were like, great. So I was really fortunate to have one of my best friends who I had done classical theater training in London with, living in France. Lean, she took care of me while I was finding a place to stay. So I stayed on her in her studio and slept in her bed for 2 weeks with her while I found my own place to stay. Thank goodness for Airbnb. And then I started my training, and it was hardcore training, and it was just so much to take in. And I have to tell you, without question, my favorite job to date ever. If you ever have the opportunity to go abroad to a different country and be an English speaking tour guide in those countries, I can't recommend it enough. It's an adventure of a lifetime. I was giving tours of Versailles. I was giving tours of the Marais, of Paris and the whole city center. I was doing Segway tours. I was doing bike tours. I was doing walking tours. It was such an adventure, and it's really what got me into the tourism industry. I saw that there was a need there. I saw that there were people staying in the bad arrondissements. I mean, there's 20 neighborhoods, arrondissements in Paris. And there was just people that were staying in like the wrong neighborhoods, and they were spending all this money, and, they weren't near all these lovely boulangeries or patisseries, and it wasn't the things they'd been dreaming about, and they were spending all this money, and it was really, I felt bad for them. They were eating crappy food, super touristy restaurants, and it just was, it was just taking away from everything they had built up in their mind about what France was going to be for them, what Paris was going to be for them. And that made me sad. And so I realized there was a need there. There's a need for something more than just a Expedia flight hotel combo for somebody who's like never been there and just put your trip together really quickly and just says like, oh yeah, you could do this, 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 or this. No, it's the small details that actually are the most important. So when I finished my job there, came back, my husband had finished his second master's in Ireland, and we had to go back to the States because we were in the middle of getting his citizenship. I decided to start For the Story Vacations. But that wasn't before having 2 weddings a week apart in 2 different countries. And that really helped because I was able to plan a lot of people's trip abroad to come to Ireland. And then a lot of people went from Ireland to other places in Europe. So slowly I was like flexing these muscles and building these muscles, and like how to put together trips, and like how to avoid certain things, and pitfalls to avoid, and like unique things for them to experience that most people would not have. So April 2016, I started For the Story Vacations, and here I am. All this time later. The crazy part is after I started my business, my husband also decided to run his own business and just work in contracting. And so we could travel, like kind of work from anywhere. And this was at a time when people were not just working from just anywhere. So we said, why don't we just start moving around every month to a new place? And so that's what we did. We packed up everything we owned. We sold everything. Each had 1 suitcase. And I'm telling you, we packed that suitcase way too full. We jettisoned a lot of things as the months went on. But we started traveling full time and left in November 2016, officially on the road, and have been on the road since then. So we've specialized and traveled exclusively in Europe. The world is big. I want to say a lot of other places, but for my business, this has just been so helpful. I mean, the amount of countries I've been able to visit in Europe, the amount of cities and towns and villages and relationships I've been able to make has just been incredible when you have so many years to do that full time. So that is why I have started a podcast. I should have started this years ago, and I said, you know what, there just wasn't enough time in the day, and so now I have the time to do it, and I'm really excited about it because I want to give my tips, my tricks. I want to talk about places that I think are awesome, and if it makes your morning commute a little bit nicer, if it's a way to wind down while you're cooking, I hope that this just brings a little bit of joy to your day. So that's a little bit about me, and kind of my background, how I started For the Story Vacations, my boutique travel business, exclusively to Europe, and why I feel I have the knowledge and expertise to talk to you about all things Europe. So to start off with, for our first episode, I want to do a general, quick little intro into Ireland. I'm currently in Ireland, in the West, in Galway. It's where my husband is from, and I have spent a lot of time in the Emerald Isle. And so St. Patrick's Day just recently passed, and I thought this would be kind of just a fun little quick intro about the main things that I see people do, or things that I think they should avoid when they're planning their trip to Ireland. So to start off with, Let's start with Dublin. Okay, Temple Bar. Everyone wants to go to Temple Bar and the Guinness Storehouse, and they want to go to the Jameson factory, sorry. And a lot of people just end up spending all this time in Dublin, and I don't get it. I don't get it. I've been to Dublin many, many times, and I know I'm biased because my husband's from the West, and a lot of people say the West is best. The West is absolutely gorgeous, filled with some of the most stunning landmarks around Ireland. But besides that, I just think they put too much of their time in Dublin when there's so much to see in the actual Republic of Ireland, let alone if you want to go to the north of Ireland and see the Giant's Causeway or Belfast or any of the other incredible drives around the northern part of Ireland. So most of the time when I have my clientele, my American, Canadian friends heading over to Europe, they have maybe 8 to 10 days. And I'm telling you, they try to shove so much into that very small amount of time. And a lot of times they give 2 to 3 days to Dublin. And I just think you should not do that. Dublin is cool. Dublin's full of really nice people, a lot of character, a lot of historical things, a lot of great food, great pubs. But I'm telling you, most of the time, people spend all of their time in Temple Bar. Yes, you have to go to Temple Bar. It is charming. It's very cute. There's lots of great live music, and you have to have gone and done it. And when you go to Temple Bar, you're going to pay €8.50 starting for a Guinness, and it'll go up from there. Drinks in Temple Bar, it's like drinking in Times Square. You're just going to overpay for everything. And that's what happens. And that's okay. You know that. But you should do a one and done and get out of there because there's live music in other places around Dublin that offer way more authentic pubs, historical pubs that you can really, really enjoy. So I just highly recommend getting out of there. Go to places like Keogh's. You can look up the historical pubs of Dublin and you do not need to spend your whole time in the Temple Bar area. And I'm talking like when I say other pubs, maybe like a 5-minute walk outside of Temple Bar. And I promise you, the price of the Guinness will drastically drop. Locals are not paying that price. And if they are, it's because they had a friend come into town and they're painfully agreeing to go for one drink and overpay for that Guinness. They want to go to the Guinness Storehouse. The Guinness Storehouse is really cool and awesome. But what I will tell you, a lot of people are like, Jameson. I have to go to the Jameson factory there. No, Jameson is made in Middleton, and that's in Cork. So you can go to Jameson there. If you're not going to make it to Cork, fine. And if that's a must on your list, fine. But that's not where any of the Jameson is made. It's all made south in Cork, in Middleton. So if you are a big Jameson fan, you need to make sure that you go to actually where it's made, in Middleton, in Cork. So again, I think just between when I look at people's itineraries, they just spend far too much time in Dublin. So what I would encourage you to do is get out of Dublin. If Dublin is not high on your list, if there's things that are like, it's fine, I don't really care about going to the Book of Kells or Dublin Castle. There's a lot of castles in Ireland. If Guinness is not a huge thing on your list, I would skip Dublin. That's me. That's not what the real Ireland looks like. You're missing out on all the charming villages, all of the beautiful drives, all of the greenery, all of the cliffs and the beaches and the incredible landscapes. There's so much natural beauty in Ireland. And also, it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. Dublin is very, very expensive for accommodation. And also because that's where so many concerts are. That's where so many things that people have people fly in for, big college matches. And then the prices just go crazy out of the roof. You're most of the time in peak summertime, people are paying $400 to $500 a night on a really low quality 4-star, even sometimes a high 3-star hotel. I just think that's absurd. You should be spending that kind of money to stay at a 5-star castle in the west of Ireland. I'm telling you that right now. So now that I've kind of pooed on Dublin, yes, you should still go. I'm not saying you shouldn't ever go to it. Yes, go. But just don't put all your time there. If you have 8 days, 10 days on the ground, please, 1 night, 2 nights maybe max. And then get on out of there. Get on out of there. There's so much to see in the Republic of Ireland. And nothing is as the crows fly. So this is number 2 that I would say. People want to do so much in such a short amount of time. When you look at the map, you go oh, Ireland is super small. You could drive from Dublin in the east all the way to Galway in the west, from water to water, and run into the ocean in 4 hours. Okay, so it's not like it's giant, I get it, but that's the only main motorway really in the Republic. Then everything else, there's going to be a few motorways or highways as we stay in the States. But a lot of stuff are these winding, gorgeous roads where they're narrow, there's sheep lying on them. It's charming and beautiful for a reason, but it takes time. I always like to say to a lot of my clients who are like, oh, we have to get in Dingle, Rachel. We have to go to the Dingle Peninsula. But then they want to go up to like Doolin to see the cliffs of Moher. That drive will easily take you, if you weren't stopping, 5 hours. It's a long drive. It's a long drive and it's beautiful. But imagine that's just if you didn't get out of the car. You want to get out of the car. You want to see things. You want to take things in. And when you get to that place, it takes time to go around, let alone the Dingle Peninsula. It's huge. There's so many like roads to visit and see. You need like 3 days just to do the Dingle Peninsula, and you're only touching the surface, from horseback riding to swims, to getting out on the boats, to seeing, the dolphins and maybe some seals, to do some bike riding, to get the pottery shops in, to get in these small little tiny villages of food. I mean, there's just so much to do. I could keep going on and on. It's incredible. It doesn't matter if you are in your 80s and you are not as mobily able as you used to be, or you're like a 17-year-old going with your family and you want to like hike everywhere. There's something for everyone in Ireland. And it doesn't matter where you go, there's a wonderful way to enjoy it where you're not going to feel like you're missing out. It's awesome. It's such a beautiful country. So just remind yourself that it takes time to go around. So when I see people doing like Dublin, then Cork, then Killarney, then Dingle, then Galway, and they all want to do it in 8 days, I feel sad for them because you're going to live in the car. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is driving in Ireland. They drive on the other side of the road. It's not the wrong side of the road. They drive on the other side of the road. And that's the polite way to talk about things that are different. That's something I'm going to go about in like a completely different episode. But it's a positive thing to look at things positively instead of saying like, that's weird or that's wrong. They drive on the other side of the road. And so that means manual cars are really normal over here. We're slowly seeing more automatics, but automatic rentals are way more expensive. So if you know how to drive a manual car, that's wonderful, but you're going to be doing it with your opposite hand. So these are all things to consider. And if you're going to be driving, you need to think about how many hours in the car you're going to be doing every day. Minus getting out and stopping and seeing things, eating lunch, enjoying a pub, all these things. And then also note that Ireland has a zero tolerance rule. Zero tolerance for alcohol. You are not allowed to have any alcohol and get behind a wheel and drive. And they're very serious about it. They actually do road checks along the way. So, this includes if you go out drinking the night before and you stay out till 2 a.m. drinking, and then you get up and get in the car at 7, you probably still have a little bit of alcohol in your body. And if you do, and you're pulled over at a road check stop, you will be arrested. It's happened. Seen it happen. It's crazy. So be prepared. That's also why you could consider hiring an amazing guide and driver who's going to take you around. And it's not the same idea as being in some like huge vehicle where all day long they're talking at you. You can have like a very comfortable captain seat vehicle with great windows. You can stop and have drinks at the pub, go to distilleries, relax along the way. But you happen to have a local who's taking you around, who knows where the fairy trees are, who can actually show you like fairy ring forts and all these things that most people miss. They can actually take you to a bog to see turf, all these things that are just way more unique and special because you have a local taking you around. So that's definitely something to consider. It's definitely an expensive financial investment to do your trip to Ireland that way. So if you do not have that sort of money to spend, then you need to share the driving. That's what I would say to you. Share the driving. It will make your life a lot better because you're going to do a lot of white knuckle driving, and whoever is driving is going to be so focused on the road that they're not going to be able to take in all these incredible views around the Ring of Kerry or driving through beautiful Connemara in County Galway. They're not going to be able to enjoy that. They're not going to be able to enjoy the sheep laying on the road because they want to make sure they aren't hitting them and that they aren't hitting these stone walls, and that they're able to reverse when they see a car because it's a one-way road, but it's a two-way road, but it looks like a one-way road to maybe Americans because the roads are much wider in the States. And so you're like reversing the car, trying to make sure you don't go into a ditch. That's a lot of the driving that you will experience in Ireland when you're going around and really seeing Ireland. So I'm not doing that to like scare people or to put you off of doing it. It's just all things to consider. either share the responsibilities of the driving, or I recommend getting just an amazing guide and driver with comfortable vehicle that's going to take you around and you'll live like a king or a queen for a week. It's awesome. So those are great options. Also, the train line system, well, it's not fully connected all over Ireland. There's lots of things you can do. You can take a train from Dublin to Cork, Dublin to Killarney, Dublin to Galway. So there's certain things you can do where you can like piecemeal it. It doesn't mean you have to have a guide every single day. There's lots of ways to go around and see Ireland. But for sure, a big road trip is an amazing thing to do. I just recommend doing less. So if you only have 8 days, I get it. Vacation time is limited. But if you only have 8 days on the ground, maybe focus on a certain area. Don't spread yourself so thin, because I promise you're going to be exhausted flying home. Whoever's done all the driving will need a vacation from your Irish holiday vacation because they will be so tired. Just don't do it to yourself. Less is more. So if you have 8 days on the ground, I'd say like, hey, maybe fly into like the west of Ireland, fly into Shannon, head on down to like Dingle, maybe head over then to Killarney, then up to Doolin and finish in Galway, and really get in the west. You can see a lot of things. You can do a castle stay. You can do all these things. Or if you really want to go over to the east, focus your time, maybe flying to Belfast, then head on south and, and get in like the Giant's Causeway, then head on south to Dublin, and then maybe head on down to Cork, and on your way, go through Wicklow. There's so many different things you can do, but trying to get it all done at once, it's just a lot. It's a lot, and people will still do it. And yes, you can feasibly do it, but it won't be as enjoyable as you dreamed it to be when you were sitting at your laptop at your job, dreaming about what your next trip is going to be. So those are my recommendations for you to avoid just spending your time in Dublin or too many days out of your small amount of time in Ireland in Dublin, and doing too much in too little time, and then the car. That's a big decision to make. So those are great things to consider. And then I want to just tell you my favorite area of Ireland. It's really hard, but I'm just going to say it's the West. And I know my husband's from the West, and I know I'm biased, and I know I'm living here right now, but the West is incredibly beautiful, and there's so many things at your fingertips to be able to go and see. So even if you did a home base, it's incredible. Whether you based yourself in County Clare, you can get in the Burn, you can get to the Aran Islands where they actually speak the Irish language, and take the ferry over there, see the cliffs from the water, but also hike the cliffs of Moher. You can head up to County Galway and get in Galway City, some of the most incredible culture and foodie scene that you could get in Ireland. Incredible musicians, a lot of people busking, out on the streets. You're getting music everywhere. Also, all the trad music in the pubs themselves, and the foodie scene is incredible. You can head then up to Connemara, which is just an incredible part of County Galway. Get in Kylemore Abbey, which is essentially like Harry Potter. Maybe get a stay at Ashford Castle in County Mayo. And visit Cong, where they filmed The Quiet Man, if you're a big movie buff. So there's just so many incredible things that you can do in the West. And Dingle, you can get down to County Kerry. We can get into Killarney, the Ring of Kerry. There's just so many things to see in the West. If you're into golfing, wow. There's a lot of incredible links coursed in the West as well. So there's just infinite things to do. Whether you want spa days, whether you want to go hiking, whether you want to go kayaking or gorge walking, there's fjords in Ireland. There's just so much natural beauty, and I can't recommend it enough. So that's all I'm going to kind of do about Ireland for today. I don't want to go on and on about it. I want to get more specific with each episode, but I thought that would just be a first fun thing to go over. I was here for St. Patrick's Day. It was a great time. Galway does a lovely parade. I have to say it was still crazy crowded, but nothing compared to what it is in Dublin. And when you're going to these smaller cities, you're outside of Dublin, you're going to get a much more local parade. You're going to get a much more authentic experience. You'll probably actually meet Irish people in the bars you're going to, and just have a great time. Dublin is not the be-all, end-all. For St. Patrick's Day, there's just great celebrations that go on all over the country. Fun fact, Dingle, their parade starts the earliest out of any parade on St. Patrick's Day in the Republic of Ireland. I think their St. Patrick's Day starts at like 6 a.m. So now, in March, the sun starts coming up around that time anyway, but fun fact, the one in Galway didn't start till 11:30. So just lots of incredible places to go and visit and see in Ireland. So that is all for today. Stay tuned for our next episode, and Make sure to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it.